Hey guys, welcome to my channel. There's a lot of spoilers ahead, so viewer discretion is advised. So, let's jump in. The movie today we are going to recap is Beautiful Boy. Jasper, Daisy and Nick, David's son from his first marriage, live in San Francisco with Karen, Maura Tierney, Timothy Chalamet. Nick misses a night. Vicky, David's ex-wife, Amy Ryan. They get into a furious debate about Nick's actions. Nick returns 2 days later, hungover. David seeks help from a drug rehab counselor who claims their program has an 80% success rate. Nick joins the program, and the two hug and say everything to each other. Nick tells David and Karen that he wants to stay at the Recovery Center's extension program, a halfway house, rather than immediately go to college. David later learns Nick has not returned to the halfway house. He demands to know why no one is looking for Nick, but is told that they would be there if he returns. Relapse is an element of recovery. David sets out to find Nick, eventually finding him in a rainy alley. In his car, Nick vomits and David drives him back to treatment. When he and Karen return, he demands to know Nick's whole drug history, including how many narcotics he uses. Nick gets healthier and tells his father he wants to go to college. David rushes to pick up Nick. They swap everythings again. It starts out nicely, and Nick even dates a classmate. Nick finds drugs in his girlfriend's bathroom and takes them. His relationship crumbles as he reintroduces strong substances when he returns home. He asks David if he may use his car to attend a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. Instead, he scores. When Jasper accuses Daisy of stealing money from his piggy bank the next morning, David confronts Nick, asking whether he did it. Nick retaliates, but David sees he's using again. Nick refuses further treatment and flees. Dr. Brown argues in the film that crystal meth is extremely addictive, and that the likelihood of someone recovering an addiction is closer to 8%. David buys and uses cocaine to try to comprehend his son's experience, then meets and buys a dinner for a young addict girl to gain insight. When he finally meets Nick, Nick is erratic high, and says he's clean but needs a few $100s. Nick runs, foolish and unreasonable, as David refuses to give him money. Later, a New York hospital calls David to say Nick has overdosed. David rushes to New York only to find Nick has checked himself out against doctor's orders, but he hears from Nick on his way home. Nick says he wants to get clean when they meet in a diner. When Nick was sad to go to spend the summer with his mother, his father informed him he loved him more than everything in the world, and they said it back to each other. David and Vicky decide Nick will move to Los Angeles to live with Vicky and finish his treatment. Nick has a solid relationship with his sponsor, Spencer Andre Royo, and is 14 months sober. Around this time, he visits David and Karen in San Francisco. When he comes late from an NA meeting, David makes him pee in a cup for drug testing. Nick gets it, even if he swears he's clean. Nick feels uncomfortable after leaving his father's residence. He contacts Spencer and says he's struggling. Spencer invites him to dinner, but Nick walks downtown and meets up with Lauren, an old rehab buddy, Kaitlyn DeVere. They get hard drugs, take them, and sex. Vicky informs David that Nick has vanished. They start blaming each other and screaming on the phone. Karen tells David to stay home when he packs his bag again to hunt for Nick. When David says he needs to help Nick, Karen yells at him that he can't. Nick and Lauren later break into his family's home, but Nick's brother spots them as they leave out the back. When Nick takes off in his car, Karen jumps into her car and follows him for miles. She loses them and sobs. When Lauren overdoses, Nick calls an ambulance, but the EMTs save her but leave him alone. He phones David and begs to come home, not to go to rehab, but to come home. Nick needs to call his sponsor and take care of himself. David reminds him. Good luck, he says as he leaves. Nick is still missing. Vicky asks David for help finding Nick, but David is helpless. Vicky is confident he'll die soon if they don't act, but David must withdraw. David and Karen start going to Al-Anon sessions. Nicholas overdoes again. David visits him in a hospital. He takes Nick, who is weak, outdoors, and they sit on a bench. Nick collapses in his father's arms. With an unclear future, David rubs his back.